But if you want to see if you're a brave person, what they call the 4 o'clock in the morning courage, wait when things go completely to pieces, when things are the worst, when your very best deal falls apart and your rent is late and you're tired and you're sick and everybody is mad at you and your car doesn't work. Then it's the person that picks themselves up and says, nothing is going to stop me. You know, the best quality in the world that you can develop is to develop the quality of being unstoppable. Develop the quality of being unstoppable. Say in yourself that no matter what life throws at me, it'll never stop me. No matter how rough it gets, I will never quit. And nothing will ever stop me.
Love that. The unstoppable.
Hey, do you know who the voice is?
No, I think it's just some voiceover.
Oh,
it might be cool. AI. It might be AI. I don't know. We were just talking about this in the back end, everybody. We were in the back end. We were in the rear end.
Yeah.
Starting off strong.
And, I was just rubbing my knee down with it, and like I'm back here like, and that's my knee. Definitely my knee, but it was funny. So I love this stuff. Use it every day.
It's important to let people know what is actually going on versus them just turning on and just seeing your hand going. So it's good for everybody to know.
Oh, good. We're picking up right where we left off last night. That's fine.
We always do that with Mr. Self. We love having
I was going to wear my I got a new blue one that I wore in NorCal, but I left it with Seb on.
I like that.
You did? You left it in California?
I accidentally did. Yeah, I left it in the rental car. I was like, hey, don't leave that in the rental. Take it so I can get it back from you.
Yeah.
But,
I like the blue one. It doesn't trigger anybody.
It's less triggering. It's more subtle. This one's like, but I got to wear it today because we have got a lot to talk about.
Yeah, I want to definitely congratulate you on the NorCal Classic. That was awesome. It was great to see you out there and I can't wait for the behind the scenes. This is going to be amazing.
It's going to be so funny. It's going to be hilarious.
How did it feel being out there?
It was fun. I mean, it was stressful because I didn't have like typical competition prep, but it also wasn't stressful for that reason. Like I didn't put a ton of pressure on myself because I literally flew from Italy to Sevon's house and then 2 days later competed. So I went 9 hours time travel backwards. So it was a shit show. And then midweek this week, it all hit me. Like I slept maybe 11 hours the past 3 days in a row. But it was fun. It's good. It was a really fun competition. Probably the most fun I've had at a competition.
That's awesome.
Was it hard with it being so hot? Because was Italy hot too? So you
Italy was hot as fuck, and so is Charlotte is too. So I train in the heat typically, and I'm lucky I went to Italy because I think we got a lot of cool weather the past 2 weeks in Charlotte. But in Italy, it was like equally as hot as it was in NorCal. And I only did I had 4 days where I went to a CrossFit gym in Italy. The other day I did Kill Taylor at the hotel and like a really long hike. And then another day I just ran like a 5K or something. So I didn't get a ton of training in, but when I did, it was super hot. So it was good.
Did you plan Italy and then decide to do NorCal, or did you already know you were going to do NorCal and then Italy was like a last minute thing? Like, how did you end up doing one right into the next?
No, neither were. Italy's been like a year in the making with my mom, my sister, her husband, and Lizzie. And then maybe like 3 or 4 months ago, or maybe 3 months ago, Ben or someone from NorCal reached out or I reached out to them. I don't remember. Someone was talking about it. And I was like, man, it's a lot of money. It'd be really fun. We just have to fly straight there from Italy. And Lizzie's like, well, let's do it. We could stay with Sevon. We stayed with Sevon for 2 nights. It was really cool meeting Haley and the kids. They're awesome. Avi, Ari, Joseph, coolest kids.
First time meeting them?
First time meeting them in person. Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
That's cool.
That's cool. I mean, because you've known him for a long time. So the first time meeting them in person has got to be cool.
Right. Right. And me and Sevon have met before, but yeah, the boys were so hilarious. They're so funny. Such good kids. We had a lot of good fun there. And then we stayed in an Airbnb, me, Bryson, Lizzie, Sevon, Souza, Hiller, Colton. So it was just so much fun.
Hey,
wow, that's a lot of boys in one house.
I have a question, but Jethro, where? Jethro Cardona, the man. Ladies, we going to the Trump rally on Wednesday. Where is there a Trump rally? Please.
Uniondale?
Is it?
I think I saw. Yeah,
he's coming back because he was here like a month ago.
I think so. Yeah.
Oh shoot. Okay, maybe. I would love to see one. I'd love to see any rally. Shit. But hey, your wife didn't. Was she in the room like when you guys were podcasting and stuff?
She was a lot of the time we were podcasting. She was maybe in the adjacent room or in our bedroom, but she was like, she helped so much. Like, Colton said thank you to her again today on the podcast. Like having her at competitions is the best. She's just she does everything. She cooks.
She takes care of everything.
Yeah,
huh?
she's awesome.
Yeah.
She's so good.
Yeah.
Of course it is. Your wife. It's your wife.
Yeah.
That's
Lucky.
yeah.
But not a lot of
Yeah.
guys have a wife like that, you know.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. She just goes above and beyond, and she does such an amazing job. And it's like you don't have to worry about anything. And fortunate for Colton, he didn't have to worry about anything either. She was a little too nice, maybe. She should have not made his food and only made mine or some shit like that.
Were you like, hey, honey, what's happening right now?
Yeah, she had my backpack on her back, and she's like, Colton, I can carry yours. I was like, no, you can't.
No, you can't. No, you can't. Well, before we go on to another topic or whatever, 305, 315. What was the snatch?
305. Yeah.
PR. Were you planning on doing that, or were you just like, let's go for it? It feels good.
I was not planning on it. Sorry, I'm having like massive issues over here.
Yes, we see.
I feel like I'm on a ride, like,
Okay, sorry. Fix this.
like a roller coaster.
That's
There we
fake
go.
news.
All right. So my plan was 245, 265, 285. I get out there, I load the bar to 245. It's a blue and a red, and then I hit that. I put 10s on. That's 265. I hit that, and I'm like looking for another set of 10s to go 285. It's not there, so I take the 10s off and I put 25s and 5s on, thinking I would go 275 with the 25s, then 5s on each side is 285. But I forgot that I had a 55 on. It wasn't two blues. It was a blue and a red. So that was 305. So it was not planned, but it was a very clean lift, which I was pleased with. When I pulled it off the floor, I was like, man, there's no way you're hitting this. It was crazy heavy. And then I just got under it and stood it up.
It looks smooth.
That was awesome.
It was awesome.
It was really cool.
Who were we talking to? Who we talked about it on one of the podcasts that we did, and it just looked like picture perfect snatch. That receive position was perfect.
Yeah.
I was like, damn.
Heidi says
crazy.
hello.
Hello, Heidi. Yeah, it was sick.
And Gus, hold on one second. Because if I don't pull him up, he's gonna be mad at me for like days. Gus, can Taylor come close to the camera again for a second? I want to comment something. There you go.
Yeah.
Okay, 305. Go. It felt really good.
Oh, wow. No, that's Bryson's POV from my pack. You got the roles reversed. Funny. All right, dude.
Okay. First of all, in Kill Taylor today, when you said that's the girl, when the dude came on and was back squatting and nobody knew what was happening, and you were like, that's the girl that catfished Manti Te'o, I fell the fuck out.
That was my favorite insult. When I got home, I told Lizzie I said that because I was most pleased with that. And now at this point, every time Colton comes on a workout, like this is the deal. If he's gonna beat you in a workout, he's just gonna destroy you. And I've like come to not even. Oh yeah, honestly, but whatever.
It.
Did you yell at JR afterwards?
No, I told JR, I was like, I was so busy this week. I have a team competition this weekend. Like I'm just got all this, not shit, but like I just feel like I've been hit by a freight train getting back from travel. So I was like, dude, it was last night. I was like, I haven't even thought of a workout yet. Will you just make one? And I was like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. My hands are destroyed. Like I have fucking blisters all over from the hot barbell. I didn't want to do anything hard. So he wrote that and whatever.
Yes, the Bill Leahy allowance line was pretty good. I didn't see the squatter.
That was awesome
part, but I did love the future Taylor. The guy.
And my god, that was so crazy. That was crazy. This was a great.
Wait, hold on. Wait, is this Taylor in the future? And my favorite was like, hey, future Taylor, is Lizzie still like? Are you and Lizzie still together? Everything's fine. She's good. It was so funny.
Savon was like, this is after Lizzie left Taylor. It's crazy. Yeah, my dude, everyone has those rips on their hands. And I think it's the barbells were so hot that like they just burned your hands a little bit and then ripped it to shreds. And that was kind of cool.
All right, Gus, thank you, dude, for hanging out. He's going to hit the Sentinel workout for the day. So he's rep Sentinel. Let's go. All right, let's get into it. Did you watch the debate?
Yeah, it was so bad in two ways for me. It was so bad, like I couldn't help, like I like Kamala makes me want to rage because every answer she has, like there's a lie or a half truth, and then she's looking at Trump like with her smirk, like that's not true. And I'm just thinking to myself, gosh, you're not getting fact checked. You're saying these things that you're just blatantly lying about, which I'm raging about. And I'm thinking people who don't look at both sides, she's destroying him and they're just going to believe everything she's saying. And then also on Trump's side, he kept repeating the same things. I'm like, dude, you're digging yourself in a fucking hole, you idiot. Mm-hmm. And yeah, it just like, he did not sound smart.
No.
And that was a bummer. And maybe he's not. I don't know. I mean,
see, for me, it reminded me of, I definitely got triggered too. It reminded me of 2020 when I believed all that shit. And I was like, oh my gosh, I can see where people are going to believe this. This is going to hit women. They're going to be like, yes. They like, there were so many things that my liberal brain's like, oh yeah, that. And then, but now I can see it for what it is.
Right.
So I could see through a lot of the stuff that she was saying.
She dodged that very first question. They're like, are Americans worse off now or better off now? Completely didn't answer it. But gives an answer that everybody's gonna be like, oh yeah, she has a plan and blah blah blah.
Yeah.
But they also didn't ask anything of substance about it. Like, hey, what about unrealized gains tax? What about this? What about that? They didn't go into any specifics. And it's such a tired format. It's such a joke of a format. Like, make them both do a long form with one person where like, hey, you guys have to sit here for 3 hours. You're gonna talk back and forth. There's gonna be like one moderator. And you ask a question, you get like 20 minutes to respond. And then the next person can get like 20 minutes to respond. And there's no like, how are you going to fix America? You have less than 60 seconds to answer.
This answer, yeah.
What the fuck?
I was watching it like I was watching a football game. I'm looking at him like, oh my God, dude, run the fucking football. And then he didn't. And I was like, oh, because when she said the whole thing about small business, and we're going to give whatever it was, 50,000 something to first time small business owners. I was like, wait a second. What about the small business owners now? The ones of us that have been doing this forever and right. You know, like nothing. So right. What's up, Mike? It sucks because it's clear Kamala is going to win purely based on 1, Trump is his own worst enemy. 2, everything is so blatantly biased against Trump, including every social media outlet outside of Fox.
I like don't even want to think about. I just don't like. So I saw a post that like really I'm like fucking depressed watching both of them on TV because it's so clear to me. Like, I just believe so wholeheartedly in this idea, theory, maybe truth for me. But what I believe is true is that the establishment and the quote unquote deep state, but I don't even think it's a deep state. I think it's just this corporate, frickin' administrative state where all of these people are so invested in the way things are because it suits them. They have power, they make their money, they increase their net worth, they get reelected. It's got to stay the same. And it is not beneficial for everyday Americans. It's beneficial for them. Like the way the system is set up now in our federal government with 3 million employees and this bureaucracy and that department and this agency and whatever. It is so set up to where they perpetuate their wealth and their power. And it's so clear that she represents all of that. Big pharma, big food, big government. Like, it's just so disgusting. And then you have all these people that believe that they care and that the more money we give them, the more money they're going to give us. It's like, the more money we give them, the more money they have. And that's it. And on the other side, like, it seems that Trump is anti all of that. It would seem with the people endorsing Trump, like Tulsi Gabbard and RFK, that he is very anti that. But then he sounds like such a dumbass. I'm like, dude, like, if it's true that he doesn't prepare for debates, like, it doesn't surprise me. But that amount of hubris, like, dude, you should.
Yeah, you have to.
What the fuck are you thinking? And it's just it's crazy. I mean, it's crazy how she didn't get a single primary vote. It's crazy how,
yep.
I mean, that alone is insane. It's crazy how a year ago, everybody hates her. She's the worst vice president in history. Now she's the fucking greatest thing since Jesus Christ. It's just all nuts, and it makes me fucking depressed to think about and like look at on a big picture. I'm like, we're so fucked. Maybe
Okay,
either way.
no, don't get depressed yet. Hold on. Bernie Gannon, I think folks were disappointed because the bar for Kamala was so low and she didn't come across as a complete fool and she laid traps. Yeah, and he fell into those traps each time. Yeah, you're right. He did. It's not something that or at least he didn't do that in the first debate. But I mean, Joe Biden was so
an idiot.
And
done.
Kamala is so rehearsed that she looks like she did so good because we expected her to freaking be a blathering idiot and she didn't come across that way. So now we're sad. But do you really think that this debate changed how anybody's voting? I don't think it changed how anybody's voting. Even the undecideds. I don't think it changed how the undecideds were voting. She if you were looking for substance, if you're undecided and you're looking for substance, she didn't say anything that would make you want to vote for her.
Yeah, I would probably say, I wonder if this is true. I wish we could have like an accurate study on it, but I would imagine that the group of undecided people as a whole, like if you take the decideds for Kamala, the decideds for Trump, and the undecideds in the center, I would venture to say that the undecideds in the center as a whole probably have the best education and critical thinking skills than the entirety of one group or the other, because you have such a vast portion of either group who are just so dumbly for that person for no reason.
Yep.
And the people in the middle are like, man, I don't know. They're considering, they're weighing their options. I would imagine if you're in that middle group, you're smart enough to discern in that debate, like what's bullshit and what's not. So maybe you're right. I pray that you're right. I don't necessarily think I don't think Kamala's smart at all. But I don't also, on the other side of that, I don't think Trump is the answer. What I do think is that he is anti-establishment enough and has laid out these ideas of bringing people in who would shake things up enough. RFK is one example. Elon Musk auditing the federal government is another example. Like those things are, well, that's an interesting statistic.
Well, I heard that too, Bernie. Shockingly, according to polls post-debate, independents are siding with Trump 3-2. I heard that too. I wasn't sure if it was true. If it is, I mean,
well, in our circle, Bernie is our official fact checker.
He's our fact checker.
Yeah, I've also seen about the leading report came out and said that there's a whistleblower from ABC that's claiming that her administration was fed a practice debate where essentially all the same answers, whether that's substantiated or not. It would validate a lot of what I believe, but it has to be like, we have to see the proof for that to.
Yeah. And also that thing that came out with her and the moderator lady.
Oh yeah.
They apparently were part of the same sorority, different schools, but the same sorority. So they have ties to each other too. There's a mess. It's weird. I don't know if I'm assuming that's been fact checked and that's true, but
it's also, go ahead.
I heard the sample questions too, and that they were actually the actual debate question.
The actual debate question.
I heard that too.
I also, it seems so common sense to me that, hey, ABC is legacy media, mainstream media. They make their money off of things like this.
Aren't they Disney too? And
right.
Disney hates Trump.
Yeah. And the people who want to perpetuate mainstream media are people like the Democratic Party, because they can exert some sort of control over them to push the narrative that they want to push. It would behoove mainstream media and legacy media to set Kamala up to win as much as possible. That's not this outlandish, you're drawing like irrelevant things together. Like, it's pretty common sense to say mainstream media hates Trump. Trump hates mainstream media. The worst thing for mainstream media is for Trump to be president, because you have the president saying, hey, you can't trust these fucking idiots. So no one's going to listen to him. Whereas David Muir wants his job forever. He wants to make a shit ton of money. He wants to be the face of news, and Kamala will make him that. It's just it's disheartening. I don't know. It just feels so like,
hey, listen, every like Trump supporter, the day after the debate, it was just like everybody got kicked in the nuts. We were just like, wait, what happened? Gus had a good one. Kamala's bar was a PVC snatch, and she hit a snatch with 5 kilogram bar, so she looked a lot better. Trump was expected to hit 100 kg, but only hit 98. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But I think, because Garrett and I talked about this a little bit or whatever, I actually do think that somebody that might not have made a decision yet after watching that debate, I think would have leaned more into her responses because she sounds very, whether you think she's rehearsed or not, she still was able to articulate a full thought. She was able to express herself and articulate everything. Whereas he just kept like fumbling and does like going off about all of these things. And it's like, okay.
Yeah, when he did the dog cat thing, I was
and
like,
he just kept talking about the dogs and the cats.
Not now.
Whether that's real, whether that's real or not, he
Oh.
wasn't able to just say it in a clear statement of like, this is what's happening. And then somebody be like, and then they're able to move on from that. And so I actually do think that debate, because he got smacked as hard as he got, I think that for some people, it could very much persuade their thinking towards her because she was so articulated in that.
Women. I think women in the middle.
Yeah, when she was talking about abortion.
Yeah, women who are undecided probably that swayed.
And the crazy part about this, this reel came across my page today where this girl calls into an abortion clinic and says, "Hey, I'm 34 weeks along.
Yes.
My boyfriend." You saw that?
Yes.
Yep.
Like I just hate. It's so frustrating to me when they bring that up, how she talks about Trump doesn't want women's rights. And he's absolutely right. He's like, hey, we put it in the hands of the states. It's not a federal government issue. We're the federal government. We shouldn't be fucking telling you what to do to that level. It's your state's issue, and vote for what you believe in. And he said the exact same thing. There are states that have been very liberal on it and states that have been very, and that's the thing. It's like, if you sit back and you take your hate away from him for a second and you just listen to that statement, it's him telling you, hey, I'm giving you, the people, more personal freedom and choice.
They don't hear that.
Right. They don't hear that. But she's on the other side selling this lie that he wants to fucking control women's bodies. And that's
this from a woman who didn't know what a woman was 2 months ago.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like she could not define what a woman was 2 months ago, but now she is all women's rights and shit.
Yeah, it's just it's crazy.
So where do you think the misunderstanding comes from?
Trump,
go ahead.
TDS, Trump derangement syndrome. It's all that. It's like the people hate him so much.
Mm-hmm.
They are so emotionally charged over the things that he has said in the past, the things he's posted, this and that. They cannot see through that for any sort of they can't see any logic through that.
Mm-hmm.
And I get it. He says some crazy things when they brought up, hey, you said Kamala Harris wasn't even black and she decided to be black a couple years ago. I mean, they have that news interview where she's like, I'm Indian. I cook with curry. And
but then you have the collard greens video where she's teaching you how to cook collard greens. Like,
dude, it's like,
and didn't she make it wrong? Didn't she? Wasn't there a lot of backlash that she made it wrong?
Yeah. Something about bacon.
I can see where Trump's coming from, but he's shooting himself in the foot by even bringing that up. Why even bring that up? Just, hey, dude, he's better off talking about the Haitian people eating fucking geese, because they're definitely doing that. I mean, there's a police call, and then for them to also act like that's not happening. And there's a video also circulating of that lady with blood all over her face from eating a cat.
With the cat, right?
Dude, we know this is happening. So for him, he would have been better off saying, hey, these fucking migrants are eating geese and cats and house pets. And they would have said, hey, we're going to fact check you on that. I'm like, hey, look at the video. My eyes don't lie to me. If he would have just said something like that, everyone would have been like, oh shit, mainstream media is trying to tell us lies and cover it up. And he's just telling you to use your eyes. Don't let your eyes lie to you. He just could have, he shoots himself in the foot so much, and people who are going to believe what he believes anyways are going to side with him. But it's like you said, people on the fence are just, or people who hate him. It's that Trump derangement syndrome. I mean,
well,
I don't think it's changing. I really don't think it's going to change anything. Even with, even what's her face, Taylor Swift, she was cautious. She waited till after the debate to come out, and she was like, oh, are you going to fuck up? No.
I don't know. Do you think that's what it was? I think it was calculated. I think it was, we're going to wait until Kamala lands a fucking heavy right hook. And while the shit is piling on Trump, she's going to add on to it.
Yeah, that's exactly what I think they did. Yeah, I think it was calculated like that for sure. Because for her to come out and endorse her before, everybody would have forgot that she endorsed her, and then it wouldn't have mattered. But now everyone's like, oh, Taylor Swift, yay. Like now. Dude.
And also the thing about that is, who the fuck, that almost pisses me off more than anything else. It's like, who the fuck do you think you are? You are one fucking human being with one fucking brain in a country of 350 million people. And you think that your fucking opinion is more important than anyone else because you can sing?
Yeah.
That's crazy to me. Like, it is so crazy to me that she is actually trying to shape the outcome of an election to the degree that she is based off of what? Based off of you're a fucking Emmy award-winning singer? You're not a fucking politician, you dumb bitch. I fucking hate to say that, but that angers me so much.
But if
it's
you
like
ever,
Rogan not endorsing someone. He is not.
Yeah.
But
they use their platform for their followers. So it's like, how can I make that the biggest impact in this election, as I have to endorse somebody to push the narrative, to push more people to follow suit? Because we talked about this on the last show, is that not everybody is taught politics. We learn politics in school, but you really don't. And then when you get out of high school, you kind of just go with the flow of your people, of the group that you hang out with. That's very much how it was for me. I just followed the people, and I was like, oh, I'm 18, I'm supposed to vote. What were all the boxes that I check? Oh, this makes more sense. And then I just kept doing that until you get to that point where there's that one thing. And for us, it's these kids, like, leave the kids alone. Now I'm like, okay, there's so much more to pay attention to. But what I meant to ask was, where do you think the misunderstanding is? Because I was confused about this, of like, they're shouting for more from the federal government, but the more the federal government gets involved, the less rights we actually have, right? That's my understanding.
Yeah, I don't think people... I think the idea of everyone having more, there being more equity, there being in a more level playing field, a more level starting position, the idea that government programs are trying to help people who are down and out and who need it. I think it's like these utopian ideas that, hey, in theory, they would be amazing. But the problem is human beings are corrupt. That is a fact of life. Even if you are a Christian, Adam and Eve were corrupt. The first people ever who never had any bad influence were corrupt. So like I just don't know that there is that. They're not operating off the same base assumption on human nature. It seems like their belief is that the government, it's almost like the government is a higher power in a sense, like this power greater than yourself that stands above human error, even because you're not operating off the base assumption that, hey, humans run it, it's going to be full of error. It's this operating off this assumption that it's the government, it's greater than us, it's going to take care of us. And that narrative, the government has done a really great job of shaping and saying, we're the government, we're going to take care of you. I've got a plan. I'm going to do the right thing for you. I'm going to do the right thing for you. We're going to take care of you. It's like, hey, you're not fucking God. You guys are going to make your fucking money and keep your ass right in a position to continue making that money. And I'm going to still be sitting here with my dick in my hand because you don't give a fuck about me. You care most about your money. How many government officials do you think take that office and genuinely care about each citizen of the United States more than they care about their own well-being?
Right.
That's a good, yeah,
we do.
It just shouldn't be. Yeah. I just think that, I don't know. I just think that they go ahead.
Just as regular, we're just regular people trying to not have food cost $1 million and not have our kids snatched from us and whatever by the federal government.
Yeah. Keep my parental rights.
I'm going to think of mine first. That's what human beings do. You think of yours first. I'm thinking of my kid first. You know what I mean? Go ahead and pull up. You can pull up any comment you want. Dude. Go.
Augustus, if you could elaborate, he says, I'm auditing a company that gives out childcare assistance, and the amount of wrong income calculations that error on the side of providing more assistance is enough that it feels intentional. That seems like a good thing. I don't know if that's wrong. I'm reading that as this company is having errors to provide more rather than provide less. I'm confused.
But I almost wonder, because in most cases you hear that the calculations and the books are wrong and the money's going to a specific person.
Right.
So usually in those type of situations, that's usually what you hear.
It's I don't know. I think that, he said, yes, that is the case. Is that, I don't know. Do you think that's a good thing?
Sorry.
He says, yes, that is the case. There we go.
Yeah. Sorry. Too many people clicking things.
Yes, that is the case, meaning that they are providing more assistance. Yeah, I don't know. If it's a private childcare company, they can lose all the money they want helping people. Good for them. I just think, I wish, I wish people, I don't know, it's like almost an absence of critical thinking. And also, I kind of view it in line of this kind of deplatforming of the idea of like traditional family structure and the nuclear family unit in America. Obviously, it is clear to anyone with two brain cells that, hey, we care about that less than ever in America. It's like that is prioritized less than ever. And when you don't put a priority on your family to take care of you, well, who are you putting your priority to take care of you in? It's like the government. You need someone. Everyone needs some thing that's going to take care of them, whether that's God, your wife, your parents, the government. But the disconnect or the dissonance is like putting your faith in the government to take care of you is crazy because they care about themselves more than you. Generally speaking, putting your trust in your parent is great because as a parent, I'm sure you guys know, you would fucking die for your kids. My mom would die for me. So putting my trust in her is like, hey, 1 + 1 = 2. Putting your trust in fucking Kamala Harris or Trump for that matter.
Yeah.
You don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
So it's to believe that everything they do is in our best interest is insane. And I just wish more people thought that way. And we aren't raised to teach that way. We're raised to believe that the government is good.
I know. Bernie Gannon, have you noticed that in this election cycle, no one is talking about federal deficit, national debt?
Right. They're not. I don't understand that as much because it's like we're in so much debt. The argument of which president's going to rack up more debt than the other. I'm like, who fucking cares at this point? We're fucked. And also, isn't half of our debt is like to ourselves? We just keep printing money. It's crazy. The only way to fix that in my mind, like Kamala Harris is talking about, oh, Trump's tax cuts or tariffs are going to cost the country money. If they're going to rack up our national debt because we pay ourselves by taxing you guys more.
Yep.
Hey, this is the crazy thing. If you really prioritized Americans in the middle class, you wouldn't say, hey, we need these taxes to stay, financially above water in terms of the debt. We need these taxes to continue to pay these debts. You would say, hey, the federal government's gotten bloated and we pay 2 million people who really we shouldn't be paying. They don't need a job. We don't actually need them. I'm going to fire these people. And instead of taking food off the plates of Americans, the 338 million Americans, I'm going to say, hey, these 2 million people who work for the government and they're just doing jobs that are bullshit, we could probably cut the national debt in half. Well, I don't know if that's a true number, but imagine you have 3 million employees and you cut 2/3 of them doing irrelevant bureaucratic work to begin with.
Yep. That's let's get Gus back. It's what is it?
Sorry, I just minimized it. That's interesting. Illinois taxpayers. So it's a child care company that's working for the state. They're state funded, and it's Illinois taxpayer dollars for people working 20 to 30 hours who want their 40-hour plus child care paid for by the state. That's interesting. So it's my taxpayers going to someone who wants, whatever, child care assistance.
Well, I don't know if Jethro's still in there, but they just did this thing in New York State. They just passed, I guess, a group to look into reparations, and they have a year to look into reparations and see if that's even viable. And the taxpayer, it's
crazy.
Yeah, it's a complete disaster. But the one thing I wanted to ask you this, going back to Trump derangement syndrome, just because I've started to do something when people ask me, which way I'm voting or how I'm leaning or whatever, I used to say, oh, I'm voting for Trump. And then I would get yelled at immediately. You're stupid. How could you? What the fuck? Like, what's wrong with you? Blah, blah, blah. Now I say, well, my hardline stance is I don't want men and women's sports, and I don't want my kid to be taken away from me if I don't want to affirm his gender at the age of 10. I don't want people talking to my kid behind my back without telling me. That's my hardline stance, so I have to vote that way. When I say it that way, I get a completely different response. Oh yeah, I totally get that. I understand why you would. Oh, I understand that. It's like, stop thinking about the person and start thinking about the policy that you align with. I get it. You don't like Trump. I don't think he's a great dude either. I don't like Kamala. I don't love her. But when I think about the policies of which I'm going for,
right.
you know, it's just easier, but I don't get shit on for it when I say it that way. But if I say his name, forget it. It's over.
Yeah, it's crazy. I haven't had anyone in person say anything negative to me about this, that, or the other one in NorCal. And I've worn them in like the most liberal places ever. I do like that's a great statement. Another thing is like her passing that or being the deciding vote on what was it? It was some bill. Essentially what it did was it added like 80 billion or 80 million, or I think 80 million or billion to the IRS budget, where they could hire 20,000 more enforcers, people that are looking, auditing people like normal Americans like you and me. If you're out for big corp, why are you guys auditing us?
Why are you coming all the way down here to us?
What the fuck? It's like, Judy goes, because they are scared of you, Taylor. Good. I fucking hope so. It's like, that's crazy. That's crazy that you would want to take 80 million of our dollars or billion or whatever it is and hire 20,000 more fucking people who their only job is to take more money from you and me. That's not helping middle America at fucking all. So it's just like shit like that is frustrating. And then at the same time, looking at her like assault weapons buybacks, and I was in an argument on Instagram with this girl who I used to coach with about that, like, oh, Americans don't need assault weapons. And I'm like, yeah, you don't need a fucking Instagram account either, asshole. Like, there's a lot of things you don't need. And the thing is, like, the infringement upon the Second Amendment is not the scariest thing. I think the freedom of speech is scarier, but when the argument when people make, oh, you don't need assault weapons, like, how are you the arbiter of how effectively I can defend myself and my family? And what's way scarier to me is if you're going to tell me like I don't need an assault weapon, you should also be telling the IRS that they don't need ammunition and firearms, yet they're quietly arming their fucking workforce for when you don't pass your audit. Like, what could you imagine an IRS agent showing up to your door with a gun? Like, I can't think of anything scarier or more 1984.
Just that in and of itself, I couldn't have fathomed 4 years ago. But now thinking that the government has all these weapons and they want to take our weapons away scares the shit out of me.
Yeah,
I would have seen, if you'd asked me 4 years ago and we just had the school shooting, I would have been like, fuck this. There doesn't need to be any guns in the house. What are you doing? This is ridiculous, blah, blah, blah. And now I'm like, nope, sorry. I feel like everybody has a right to bear arms. They should bear them. If the government has guns, we should be allowed to have them too.
Mm-hmm. And the arguments, oh, they have drones. What's an AR going to do? Well, fuck, if they're droning us, then most of us are fucked. But if they're droning us, I want a fucking AR, because if one motherfucker isn't droning, he's done. You know what I mean? Like, it's just such a bad argument. Like, if the government's droning you, it doesn't matter. Sorry, I don't want my life to not matter. I don't want it to ever be this. It doesn't matter. You're fucked. I always want as much self-efficacy as possible. Like,
you disarm the people that actually give a shit and care and do things responsibly, but then all the other fucking people that don't.
Right.
Kenneth, sorry, you helped me think about this. All the other people that don't register guns, that have all these ghost guns and shit running around, and you want to disarm us?
Right.
You crazy?
Just as Kenneth goes, can't find your guns if you don't register.
Yeah.
I'm on an ATF list for sure. I'm not even doubting that. I've applied for an NFA tax stamp, so they know that I have things that most Americans don't have. It's like that shit like that is wild and so scary.
But hearing you talk about it in this moment has changed my perspective, because I am that one that doesn't understand why we need to have weapons like this, especially when they keep getting in the hands of children. That, for me, I don't understand. So
huge issue.
So I'm like, why do we need weapons like this? I'm not saying take away, people's freedom to protect themselves. We all have that right. This is my home. I have the right to protect my home in the way that I see fit, just as you do, just as anybody else does. But when I hear this idea about we need these types of weapons, my next question is, why do we need them? And why are they constantly getting in the hands of these young kids that are going into these schools and killing young, innocent children for no reason other than they are the parents are not monitoring what's going on. The kid is not being taken care of. There's mental issues, all these type of things. But I'm like, initially, I'm like, get rid of them, still have guns, but why these specific ones? So even just in this moment, hearing you talk about it, I'm able to take in your perspective and not be like screaming at you, like, Taylor, how could you say that? And blah, 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 blah. Like, that's why I like these conversations, because I'm just starting to learn about politics, because I very much was the crew that was like, okay, where are we going? I'm just going with everybody. And now I'm just able to ask more questions and have more conversations about them.
So to think about this, I have a pistol that has a 25 round capacity magazine, and it came from the factory with that oversized magazine, whatever, extended magazine. If you walk into a classroom of 30 kids, it doesn't matter if I have that pistol or an AR-15. I have 25 bullets in the same. One might have 30 rounds. So like I get the argument. I understand the argument in this facade. They're assault weapons. But through that same lens, you could make more of an argument that it's more of an appropriate weapon for you to have in adherence to the Second Amendment as it's written, meaning your first line of defense against tyranny. Our first line of defense against the IRS agents coming door to door and pointing a gun in your face to get your money is knowing that there's fucking however many 300 million guns in America. Like, they know that.
Yeah.
But as soon as that gun buyback program happens, which 4 years ago we couldn't imagine the IRS being armed and them doing massive weapons and ammunition stockpiles, that would have been holy shit. Or 8 years ago, however long ago, that would have been unfathomable. Well, now it's happening. It's unfathomable now to believe that they would go door to door with a gun. But if Kamala's assault weapons buyback program happens and its criminals are the only ones who have guns anyways, well, they're not trying to enforce taxes on criminals. They're trying to enforce taxes on law-abiding citizens who are going to turn their guns in, and then they're coming to your door with a gun. And you've seen, this is the other thing, all of these horror stories of police officers shooting innocent people, that's just going to happen at an exponential rate when you have a government official who's a fucking whack job to begin with, wanting to carry a gun to someone's house to collect money or for any reason. And you have a bunch of pissed off citizens. It just seems like, oh, nothing could go wrong here. You're going to put a gun in an IRS agent's hand? What's his training is fucking numbers in a keyboard, and you're putting a gun in his hand? It's just, for that reason alone, the assault weapon should be, hey, we want this to scare the government. I agree 100%. Like, anything a kid can get his hands on and fucking go wreak havoc on a community is a terrible thing. And it's always the argument of, look at Japan, look at New Zealand. They have banned assault weapons and they have much less school shootings. Well, Japan also has like the world's highest fucking suicide rate. We also have 250 million more citizens than they have. We also have, like, we as a country are normalizing obesity. We're normalizing wanting to fix this fundamental disbelief in yourself, or I don't know what the right word is. You are unsettled with who you are. You can't accept who you are. You aren't okay with who you are, but you're going to fix it with puberty blockers, or you're going to fix it with a gender transition.
Okay, wait, before we get there, to Allegra's point, and I do want to get there. Yep. I definitely want to get there, but to Allegra's point, I just think that most liberals that aren't far left, like out there, whatever, they get scared and they think that way. And it's easy to scare parents because their kids are going to school and they don't want it to happen. So that's what they're going to fixate on immediately, is I just want there to be no more guns, so there's no chance of my kid getting shot. And I understand that.
We had 2 last year.
Yeah.
In a matter of a month. We had 2 scares, but active scares where they had to evacuate
the school. And it's freaking terrifying.
But then Kenneth says this, and I was thinking about this as I was explaining it, or Taylor, that you were explaining it. This is true. A person with bad intentions wants somebody, they're going to find a way to get it. Yeah. And so as much as we can say,
as much as you want to be like, no guns, if someone wants to get there, they're going to get there.
So it is the argument of, you can't blame the weapon, gun. You have to blame,
it's the person,
or not blame, but you have to
take
the accountability for the person.
The FBI had information on this most recent kid for up to a year, knowing that he had said things. What the fuck are you assholes doing? You had the info for a year.
Right.
I mean, seriously, that's crazy that they even had a gun in their house. And, you know, it's.
So it goes back to the conversation of accountability. What's happening is that the is the government trying to take away personal accountability?
Right. It's what it seems like. The government's trying to say, hey, you're all fucking retards. You can't think for yourselves.
And you can't
We're
have
gonna make this. You can't have this. Like, you know how we can't have nice things. Like, hey, when you make the statement, we can't have nice things, you're basically saying you're an idiot. You shouldn't have done this. You shouldn't have that. You're calling yourself a dumbass and that you can't be trusted with something. And that's what the government is telling you is you can't have nice things because you're a dumbass and you can't be trusted with something. And that's the narrative. Like it's rampant across North American culture is we are enabling so much idiocy and things that should be objectively bad for everyone in society. And in doing so, we're saying, well, since you believe that men can get pregnant, we don't think you should be able to have a gun because that's dumb or whatever. I mean, it's things like that. It's, hey, if it's just a whole list of all of this, kids aren't taught that this is wrong and this is right. It's like,
hey, how do you feel about the parents being charged or like the father being charged with the kid?
I think in that guy's situation, his son's got all those red fucking flags. If you yeah.
And he bought the kid. It was a Christmas present.
Yeah. Charge his ass. You bought your fucking, I mean, dude,
yeah. I'm not opposed to it.
I think that should be preached more, but Americans just need more education. We just need to know, hey, what do we actually need to do to get healthy? How do we actually go about purchasing a firearm, storing it safely in our home and educating our children on it? Because it is important for you as an American to be able to protect yourself. Somebody breaks into your house. Let me just tell you, the cops aren't going to get there before you're done.
Right.
And that does fucking happen. I'm not saying it happens everywhere, but man, it's always better to have something and not need it than to need something and not have it when you're done. But Americans, we just need more real education, not, hey, carbohydrates at the bottom of the food pyramid. No, meat, fruit, nuts, vegetables. We just need, it just seems like because everything is monetized here, which is a whole nother topic, it can all be so corrupted. But like the fitness industry is corrupt, food industry is corrupt. People need more education on it. And there just isn't.
Wasn't there something going around now too? It's not even just mainstream media anymore, but these independent media outlets now, like we were all so happy that there was independent media and they're away from like ABC, Fox, whatever. But now aren't they getting corrupted too? I feel like there was some group of them that just got caught taking money from like Russia or Russian propaganda or some shit or whatever.
About that. What was it? Like? It wasn't Upward News. It was some big site.
Yeah.
Some big like Instagram news.
I forget what it is too. I haven't looked it up. I just heard it today, but I was like, oh, well, I guess everybody's going to start to, like you said, you're going to look out for number one, right? People are corruptible.
Mm-hmm.
We just have like our leaders aren't giving us, a fishing rod and some fishing line and some bait and saying, hey, here's how to catch a fish. Go fend for yourself. They're saying, hey, here's a fish. You're going to get one a day.
Right.
And
they started that with the welfare program.
Right. It's just,
ouch, Bruce Wayne. Taylor's my favorite non-games athlete.
Hey, I'm a games athlete coach, bro. Almost the same thing. So it's just crazy. It's all, and it just feels so like demoralizing to see everything that's going on with them. And
don't be sad, dude. It's going to be fine. It's going to be fine. It's all good. It's going to be fine. Taylor Swift's not going to do shit.
Interest rates have gone down too. That's nice.
Yeah. Right.
A little bit.
Well, okay, hold on. Asymmetric ears. It's not necessarily that libs hate guns. They just don't want you to have one. And I feel like that needs to be said. They're yeah.
Go watch the video of those two white officers in Chicago or wherever. What was the woman's name? The black lady with the pot of boiling water?
I don't know her name, but I do remember that video.
That video is so fucked.
That's crazy.
Go watch that video and tell me you want to put your life in the hands of people other than you. Like, fuck that. Crazy. Fuck that. They killed the fuck out of that lady for no reason. Like it's that's the perfect example of why would you want to disarm law-abiding citizens? And you said it too. Like criminals aren't turning their fucking guns in ever.
Nope.
It's crazy. And the school shooter thing, it's like, hey, I don't know what the answer to that is. I mean, maybe I wish we would spend money elsewhere, like not on all these other fucking stupid issues, and we put money into that. Arm a fucking officer in every school where his sole training is anti-active shooter scenario training. Put that in every fucking public school, or I don't know. I mean,
I know it's like the abortion issue. It's just a tough freaking scenario. Olivia, thank you. Lauren Chen was the mover behind Tenet Media. Yeah, Tenet Media. That's what I heard. Yeah, thank you.
And that's the thing though, because when you say stuff like that, like teaching, it's almost like teaching what real life actually looks like. Teaching, we don't learn about interest. We don't learn about money. We don't learn about mortgages. We don't learn about safety. We don't learn about the government. We don't learn about any of that kind of stuff. It's very much a blanket thing. And so hearing that, like, that we should teach about the safeties in these schools in regards to school shootings and stuff like that. For me, my emotional response as a mother is it makes me very sad that my 7-year-old has to do this. Because when I was in school, it was fire. Like we learned how to evacuate we had a fire drill. That's what we learned. There was none of this stuff. You could get in and out of the school like nothing. Your parents could be invited to every part of your school. Like my mom could be invited. My father could be invited. Other people's parents could be there for every part of that. We can't do that. I can't do that with my kid. I have to sign in, sign out, get my picture taken, all of these type of things. And as I'm appreciative of that, because safety is 100% the most important thing when he's not with us, because obviously we keep him safe when he's with us. But my emotional feeling is like, I don't want my 7-year-old to have to experience drills like this. But what you're saying is like, we have to, though. We have to teach them the sadness and the ugliness of this world, because if we don't, then what we're doing is we're throwing them out there with nothing. We're not teaching them anything.
What we're also saying, the struggle also is, I think when the founding fathers were putting together this concept of a free country, they were under the full understanding that there are pros and cons to having an entirely free country. There's going to be bad with the good, and it is their belief, just as it is my belief, that personal freedom and liberty outweighs any negative detraction that comes from that. But what it also requires is self-efficacy and education. It requires you to pick yourself up by your fucking bootstraps and understand what you need to do as an individual to be successful, to be safe, to keep the people around you safe, to add to your community, not take away from it, not just take and take and take. And that's kind of not what we've been educated to do. We as kids haven't been educated that, hey, you have personal freedom and liberty, and here's how you need to use it to make America a better place. Instead, it's here's how you can use America to make yourself better. It's like the JFK quote, like, ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. And this interesting comment from Carl, he says 51 government agents lied under oath about the Hunter Biden laptop and said it was Russian disinformation. That's crazy. And that won't get any traction in the news. Neither will that lady getting shot. It was crazy because after that video circulated, you saw nothing over it, but it was so horrible.
It was. It went around for like a day and then it disappeared. You couldn't.
He goes, I'll shoot you in your fucking face. And then just.
It was crazy.
For no reason. For no reason.
That was what we learned. That's what we learned in school was about pedo kidnappers.
Don't get in a white van.
Yeah, pretty much. Don't take candy from strangers. I mean,
but they don't teach you that in most cases it's not a stranger.
Right. Someone you know,
it's someone that you know, and they don't teach you that either.
Yeah. Another thing I think a general concept I wish we would lean more towards, and maybe we will get there, but we've become such a society of like comfort and pleasure and what makes me feel good now, which typically, hey, if I'm making decisions about instant gratification, if I'm making a decision based off me feeling really good right now, it's not going to have long-term benefits. Typically it's the opposite. Eat the ice cream now, feel good now, get fat and diseased later, for example. Sleep with the girl you just met now, never talk to her again, feel horrible about yourself later. It's not, we're not teaching the harsh realities of life. We're not teaching discipline. We're not teaching accountability, delayed gratification. Like what makes you uncomfortable now is good for you later.
Yeah.
But it's the thing with the gun thing. Like we're not taught as kids, hey, this weapon is literally to kill people. When you're dead, you're dead. There's no takesies, backsies.
I don't think they
That's
understand that at all.
That's a very important statement that you're saying, because
There's
Gar and I talk about that all the time.
We grow up on Call of Duty
As I
Modern
wear a
Warfare
shirt that
3.
says "Kill Taylor,"
Right.
but yeah,
Appropriate.
we play Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3, and it's you get your second life and whatever, and there's no.
Hey,
But
dude,
hey,
come respawn me.
Kids are sponges
Pause.
though. They will learn. They will believe their parents. Like I'll believe anything my parents say to me. And I like when I have kids, I'm gonna be so clear that like, hey, a firearm is an important aspect of life because you need to be able to protect yourself. But it is life or death. And when you die, you don't ever come back. And everyone dies, but you don't want to fucking die. Like, no, it should be taught with so much seriousness, right? Dick Butter goes, no response.
No response. Yeah.
No response, bro. But it's like we're not taught that. It's a fucking toy in a fucking music video or whatever.
And there's no empathy for it either.
No.
Like there really is not. Anytime you see them or like these active school, there's like zero remorse. They really don't understand what they're doing. Like you took a son, like the kids that boy could have had or that girl could have had, or you know what I mean? They have just no idea.
And it's like, but that's only a piece of the problem. Like we're not taught as people that like death is a part of life and how to cope with that. Like we're not taught like, hey, one day your parents are going to die. You're not taught that, hey, one day like that's a part of life. We're not taught that, to take your health seriously so that you can not fucking die. Like we're not taught any of these things that are real consequences. It's like fucking bullshit education we get about how to suck the government's tit. It's crazy.
Yeah, and then when these massive tragic things happen, they have no coping mechanisms to get through it. Like none at all. And then they go nuts and they freak out because you got dumped on your senior year or whatever.
Or bullied.
Or whatever.
Or bullied.
Yeah, and it's just like, I don't know how to deal with this. Let me just fuck up everybody. Like, what? Wait a second.
Yeah.
Go home and journal and listen to Alanis Morissette. What's the problem? Like, you know what I mean?
Evanescence.
Anything.
Amy
Seal.
Lee.
Sing Seal all day. It's fine. Hey, I want to wrap. I don't want to keep you too long because I know that you've been basically live for like.
You're good. I got time.
hours.
The show's giving me energy.
Like you've been alive for like 10 hours.
I'm fine. This is bringing me back to life. I love this.
Okay. I really wanted to ask you, do you and Lizzie agree on everything like politically and religiously?
Politically almost to a T. I would say I lean more toward being pro-life and she leans more toward being pro-choice, but we are both very center. So before anybody like gets anything like you misinterpret anything, we're both very much so in the middle. She was, when we watched Trump and he was saying that, hey, we're giving the issue back to the states, she's full agreement. Like, hey, it shouldn't be the federal government's choice what you do. They shouldn't decide one way or another. Well, I would say we both agree. I feel like we both agree on, maybe even fully on it, where like there are instances where like it seems commonsensical that an abortion would be good or necessary. Not good, but that would be the choice that we would make together.
Yes.
And there are instances that we both agree on, like, hey, that is not cool that like the 34-week video disgusted both of us.
Yeah.
That's maybe it's
heartbreaking hearing that video. I'm just like, wait, you do what? Wait, because I remember being pregnant at 34 weeks. You know what I mean?
It's a baby.
To even think that at 34 weeks that I would give that up, like it just completely broke my heart.
Right. So so maybe I was wrong when I said we don't see eye to eye there. We see very eye to eye there. I'm trying to think of ways where we don't. She's I would say she is more traditional Christian. I'm more, I don't know. I really use AA and the 12 steps as kind of the foundation for how I believe in a higher power, like a spiritual higher power. I don't know that I necessarily believe in one, depiction of that God, but I do believe in Christian values and morals. So we are still very much so in alignment there. That's kind of really whereas I guess like Christians or Islamic people or Jewish people have faith and they know that particular thing is what they believe in. What I care less about what it actually is and more that there is something. And I leave that, I don't try to define it, I guess, as much.
Did you guys have these conversations before you got married, or was it kind of like you learned it together?
We had a lot of these conversations before we got married.
Damn, smart.
Yeah, but we also, I mean, have kind of it's not super, our relationship's not super traditional. Like we moved pretty quickly. We have learned a lot through like marriage counseling. We've learned a lot through having these conversations. We both have a ton of room to grow in the way of like communicating with one another. And I think where we both have a lot to learn is like when she's pissed off about something and having a shitty day, I don't need to take it personal and make it about me. And she could learn a lot about that too. So sometimes it's like, hey, when one of us is struggling where the other could help pull up, it's like the other helps pull down.
You're like, hey, that's a you problem.
Right.
And so when you're ready to have that conversation, we can talk about it.
Yeah.
I'm having a great day right now. Like my day's been fine.
To not take it personal, that's a big thing.
Yeah.
That was me too, where she'd be having a day and I'm like, what do? She's like, nothing.
Yes.
Nothing.
Not about you.
Nothing. Not a goddamn thing. And I'm
but
like, but you're upset. And I have to like, she was like, nothing. Stop. Like, it's not about you.
Yeah. So we're learning that, but we are learning and we communicate really well. I think it's very, like, I feel so fortunate that we are in so much alignment on the political stuff, but to me, it's not even necessarily political. It's like our philosophical approach to life. Like we want to be the people who teach our kids what they know. We want to homeschool or whatever, do this and that. So I'm very fortunate for that. Super grateful.
Because my grandfather was just diehard Republican. My grandmother leaned left a little bit more than he did. And they were married for 60 plus years and had they loved each other more than anything. I can't see that happening now. Like if you take two 20-year-olds with different political views, like my grandparents used to have conversations about it all the time.
Right. But it's different now.
You can't I don't think that you could have that now.
But I don't think it's a difference. Like, I think it's a difference in what is political now. Like back then, the issue was this fractional tax percentage rate and your belief in, this law over that law. It very much so was political.
It wasn't identity politics.
Right. Now it's
identity.
Everything is political.
Right. It's like,
every single conversation
Republicans are racist and Democrats want reparations. It's like, whoa.
Ooh, calm
there's
down.
Like, you know what I mean? It's like there's this, it's just not supposed to be that way. I feel like that's why it is that way.
Yeah. I do too. It's changed so much, and to hear these young kids try to have a conversation, and well, young kids, but 20s or whatever, they try to have these conversations and really, but all they can do is yell at you.
Yeah.
And it's just I'm talking now. Don't talk. What do you? And they just yell at you. And it's like, oh my God, your point's not good. I turned you off. You're now off.
Did you ever watch that Matt Walsh movie, What is a Woman?
No, but I'm about to watch the new one that he just put out.
Me too. It's in theaters.
Is it really?
Isn't that crazy? Yeah, Lizzie's like, hey, it's in theaters around us. I'm like, well, let's fucking go. That's crazy.
I was gonna buy it when it's on what's the name of his
Daily Wire, maybe?
Daily Wire, yeah.
I'm gonna go try to watch that this weekend.
Am I racist?
Am I racist?
Yeah. That's gonna be fire.
Yeah, it's gonna be crazy. I think but it's like, it just seems, I don't know, to touch back on the thing with me and Lizzie, it's I feel like we also have a very traditional relationship where she trusts me to take more of a leadership role in some things. Whereas like even my parents were moving a lot toward like the modern, both of them, equal earners. There's not really necessarily a leader. They both kind of pull back and forth. I don't know what way is best. I feel like we are naturally, me and Lizzie are that way.
It just works for you. It's what works for you.
Right. And that's not to say that like she has extremely strong opinions, and we definitely, like, I don't ever try to be like, hey, I'm not going to hear your opinion. I'm just curious on like how we approach like raising a kid or whatever, like that traditional, like, male leader, type of.
I think that's cool. That was kind of what we were talking about in a couple of shows, and it's just kind of I even talked about it with Sev a little bit, and it's just like, yeah, I clean gutters. I'm the one that's gonna go get on the roof and clean gutters and take the garbage out and whatever. Like, it's just kind of what we fell into, and that's where we're comfortable. So
I wouldn't say fall into. I felt like you kind of pulled me kicking and screaming, but we got here.
No, that was the job thing. I was like,
We
you
got
do
here.
not have to work 60 hours a week. You
Well,
can,
I
like,
came-
you know what I mean?
But I came from, a single mom that was never home. Because she worked all the time and did everything. Like, my father was in my life, but I lived with my mom and, all the type of stuff. And I think that it's also a testament to kind of like what you're saying, is that just because, and I think we talked about this with Tyler too, like, just because you're raised one way doesn't mean that you also have to live and raise your children the same way. And I think for us, it's been so much of that communication, has been so much of that growth of like, we don't want to do it the same. We'll take what's good, what we feel like is going to work for us, but it doesn't have to be the same as it was. Yeah. So it took a little, kicking and screaming, but 12 years later, I'm here. I got it.
Kenneth DeLapp, when I try to talk to people at work about this stuff, it always seems like they're afraid to speak their mind. It's that, yeah, I do that little nudge thing. Like, I'll leave the newspaper on the counter open to like a Trump page. And then if I see someone kind of look down at it and start reading it a little bit, I'll be like, yeah, did you see this? And then and they're like, oh, you think that way too? And then all of a sudden the floodgates open, and it's just, but it is, it's like, you have to give someone permission to be like, hey, I'm not going to bite your head off
for what you believe. Yeah.
Yeah. Even if it was like a liberal thing, but it's like, I'm not going to kill you. Like, just talk to me about it. It's fine.
Do you think there are beliefs that people should bite other people's heads off for? Like, do you think that because I do.
Yeah.
Particular beliefs.
Yes.
I mean, that's an uncomfortable thing. I guess it's less uncomfortable for me to admit now, but there are things I think should be maybe shamed by society.
Yes.
Oh, so you think we should bring back shame?
Maybe not. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe in just a way. Maybe shame's the wrong word, but like a general agreement, objectively, that hey, that's bad. Like racism, actual racism, is bad. Yes. Murdering is bad. Genital mutilation of a child, whether or not they want it, is fucking bad. Like things like that. Women and men's sports, bad. I wish there was more. Like so much of what
Nickelodeon, bad. You know what I mean? Yes. Yeah. Sure. That's fine. I have no problem with that. I don't even. Half the time, I don't even understand why you have to rail against that. I feel like it should just be a common sense situation.
Right.
So go ahead. No, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, it seems I wonder if maybe that's why we are in so much turmoil as a country, is we've lost that common ground of what's objectively good and what's objectively bad. It's like different for everyone, which is crazy. I feel like you need some societal norms to have a functioning, healthy society. And how do we get that back?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think you said that we don't teach kids what's right and wrong.
Yeah.
Anymore. Like,
look, it took me realizing that they couldn't define what a woman was for me to be like, what the fuck is happening right now?
Yeah.
Like, it really did. And that's kind of what woke me up. And then she's like, hey, why are we not like thumping for LGBT? And I'm like, cause that dude's a woman. And no, like, what are you talking about?
There's if you watch that first Matt Walsh movie, it's crazy that some of the responses he gets. Like
the thing about, I saw one clip about, hey, is a chicken a male or female or whatever, and yeah, it's just, yeah, I know. I'll go watch it because I really do want to watch the new one. So I'll go back and watch that. Yeah, dude, I don't know.
Well, going to what Bruce Wayne said, we lost our morals as a country or whatever. I think that. But do you think that the definition of morals has changed?
Maybe, but also I think what we lack is people in leadership positions being strong leaders and being okay with giving some black and white. Like the whole world isn't gray. Murdering someone who's innocent is bad. Hating someone and thinking you're better than them based off the color of your skin or where you're from is bad. Like there are things like that. I think that it is okay to draw a hard fucking line in the sand. It's like everyone's become scared to do so. And so instead of hard lines in the sand about things that, everyone can generally agree on. Now we have hard lines in the sand about things that are so subjective.
Yeah,
Like,
maps is not a thing, and yes, you should be absolutely publicly shamed for maps. For sure.
what is maps? Google Maps? What is that?
Minor attracted
attractive.
people.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I did not know that's where that was going.
Yep.
Right.
And
that's horrible.
That's not a thing. It's not a sexuality. No, fuck that. Yeah,
And
sure.
and you hear arguments of like, well, are you going to go back in time and you going to arrest all of these people? And it's like, I'm focused on right now. And we've grown a lot from those traditional growing up and stuff like that. And I think that, like you said, we can all agree or hope to all agree one day that adults sleeping with children is not okay.
Why
It's
is
not
that
okay.
a thing? How did we? Yeah. Someone said it. Asymmetric ears. Yeah, the LGB was hijacked and they stood and watched it. Yeah, they sure did. Yeah, and yeah, yep.
It's crazy. I mean, and the sad truth is there are places in the world right now where that still is the norm for an old man to marry a girl who's 13, 14, 12.
Yep.
There's a lot of, and objectively, we know that in like an educated society, we're not just animals where women's purpose is to breed and to have children. That's not what we are. We have this element of sentience where like we can imagine things and believe in things that don't exist. Like we have, we're creative. We have brains to have imagination. Like we're whatever. So it's just crazy that is still happening in places. And also crazy that people would try to normalize it in America.
But that's what I'm saying. I'm not even picking a person. I'm picking policies. If your policy goes to that, sorry, I can't. I can't.
Yeah.
I really don't.
And that's something that shouldn't be political. It's like, why is that a political thing? It should just be wrong.
Be wrong.
Right. This is an interesting comment by Kenneth. Morals versus ethics. I believe one is society derived and one is family derived, like ethics, societal ethics versus morals, family based. Well, again, I think that goes back to so many people losing trust in family and what family is and not having that normal, not even normal, because it doesn't have to be the same for everyone. But like,
once they broke up the nuclear family, that was pretty much
right. That.
Yeah.
Now
as soon as they got dads out of the homes, that was pretty much it there.
And it's so clear to see that these people in power are only okay with all of this craziness. Like men can have babies and minor attracted people. Like that's only happening because they just want to perpetuate their power. They don't care one way or another, but they're going to go with the loudest people in the room so that they don't get kicked off the stage.
I can't tell you when specifically, or babe, if you want to look that up. I remember looking it up one time, but I remember in the 90s calling it was LGBT already. But I'm not sure when exactly that.
Oh, wow. In the 90s.
Yeah, we were LGBT in the 90s.
90s.
Yeah.
About 1988.
Yeah, okay. So it was fairly close.
Is there a study on like kids who transition and like later on regret it?
Oh yeah.
I follow on Instagram. I follow a detransition site or what do you call it?
Detransition account, yeah.
And I hear a lot of stories about young kids that have detransitioned, and a lot of them say that they were taken advantage of by the schools that they were in. So that's why it's such, like, I always say, if I'm going to listen to one side about how this is a good idea and how this is a thing and we have to do this because if we don't, then it's going to hurt our children and whatever, I want to hear the other side. Because as much as people like to say, well, there's no way that this could happen, what I'm saying is that the internet has shown that anything can happen. Whether it's not actually physically happening yet, it's showing that anything and everything is actually possible.
Right.
So I found this account or whatever, and a lot of the stories are these kids talking about how they were manipulated and taken advantage of because they just, like you said, we're in a society where we pick ourselves apart more and we're never enough.
And it's mostly girls who transition to boys that are coming back now and saying like, well, now I'll never get my voice back. I'll never have my voice back because I was on puberty blockers and testosterone for so long. I'll never be able to feed my child. And if in some rare cases they went so far as to have like a hysterectomy so that they don't get their period.
Right.
Now you'll never be able to have children. And they're like 18. They're looking like kind of a girl, but their facial structure has kind of changed. And now their voice is deep. And the one girl even says like, I can't even blame my parents. Like they scared my parents telling them that they were either going to have an alive boy or a dead child or a dead daughter.
So fucked.
So it's like, it's insane how they do this.
This is an interesting Jake Chapman CrossFit. The US is going through what all superpowers have gone through. We went through it 200 years ago, Italy, 1600 years ago, etc. Once you've moved on from the superiority complex, you'll be fine. We've all been there. Jake, where are you from? This is a very important question because I don't believe
the Isle of Man.
Oh, really? So he's from the UK?
Yeah.
We don't want to be the UK. Love you, Jake, and nothing against you. But there are a lot of things going on in the UK, like lacking freedom of speech. And what is it, Ireland or countries in the UK threatening to come after American people who post memes because it's misinformation? Like, you guys aren't through it. Let me tell you, bro. Or like Brazil banning X and banning Rumble. It's not, I don't know. It's.
So here, let me show you this. My friend, she's been on this show a couple of times. Amy, she put this up the other day, and because this shit is actually like really fucking happening. But so this is a little boy, and his dad kind of is running this little charade. But this is Edie meeting her future self. But this is a little boy, like.
Hi. So tell me, yeah? So do we still have to hide who we are? No, silly. We don't have to hide anymore. Really? Dad? He made sure of that.
This video gives me the creeps.
That's what's they just want to get the love from the internet or the love from whatever this train is happening that, you know what I mean? They're using their kids for this to get.
That's so crazy.
And that's a little like that kid can't be 7, 8. You know what I mean? It's.
I wore my sister's bra and like jewelry as a little kid. Imagine like. You just do stupid.
If your dad was like,
it's natural for you to be sexually inquisitive or whatever, or just curious, or I wonder what it's like to be a girl. Like that's not abnormal at all. But like to go to that extent is crazy. Is absolutely crazy.
Well, we talk about it. We talk about it too. You know, we are both tomboys. We always have been. And if I remember playing dodgeball with the boys and being in sweats and all this type of stuff. And if I was in the generation now, it is possible that I could have fallen into the trap because I was also a kid that didn't like who I was and went through like every other kid goes through of, you know, it was taught when we were talking to Ali Shiver last night or whatever, like I had a terrible awkward phase. It was tough. It was tough. And to think that like, if I was young now, and insecure now in the society that's supposed to keep us safe and have our backs and stuff like that, what could have possibly happened?
Yeah, and Vindicate, I'm absolutely not surprised by the dad at all. Yeah, I saw what I saw. Yeah.
Jake, I am like, I'm so confused why I get this whole, like everyone on the outside looking into America believes, like everyone here thinks that there's this superiority complex. Like, hey, I don't believe that I'm a better person than you, Jake, but I do believe that a democratic republic is 100% better than a pseudo monarchy with a prime minister and whatever the fuck else you guys have. And you guys have all your own sorts of problems. Like I know there's a massive issue in the UK now with like however much percentage of the native population is freaking out about this massive influx in, Middle Eastern immigration and how the entire culture in the UK is changing. I just don't understand what you mean by you're going through this now. We already went through it. I'm just confused. It is different. Like, I wonder, like, there is a thought of, okay, you have this life here in America, your life would be the same in this country, but that really isn't true. Like, there are a couple places on earth where you would have a relatively free life. And there are a lot of places on earth where you wouldn't have fucking shit, maybe not even arms and legs, because they get fucking cut off or whatever. Like, we are very lucky to be here. And America does have something amazing.
Well, I want to go back, and I know we've talked about this before, babe. And hold on, where is it? Where's that, Bernie? Talking about this idea of the nuclear family, of the traditional family. And I think for many people, us included, like, the traditional family is supposed to be between a man and a woman. And a woman supposed to get married, have a bunch of kids. Right. Man goes to work, woman stays home, does all this stuff. And so I think that there is still that conversation of, like, what is the new definition of a traditional family?
There's not a new definition. The traditional family is a man and a woman and children. That's a traditional family. There's no new definition to that.
But I do think that people are trying to
make a new one. Yes. Yeah. Whoa, sorry. Didn't mean to push the button. Sorry.
Like, do you think that people are trying to do that? Because if we had to go back to the quote unquote traditional family, then people could lose their families?
No, we are not a traditional family, and that's fine. What they want to do is make it so everybody agrees that we are one, the same way they want me to say that a man is a woman.
But I would consider you a nuclear family.
Yes. Yeah.
So I don't think the issue is this.
Okay, so then maybe that's what it is. Explain the difference, because I thought they were the same.
A traditional family would be just like you said, man, wife, kids. A nuclear family is where you get most. I would assume. I don't know. Is there a definition? Let me look it up real quick. But my perspective or understanding of a nuclear family is that it's those most immediately around you, and when you're placing your dependence on your nuclear family, it's like, hey, your kid depends on you. You depend on Garrett. Garrett depends on you. It's not all of you fending for yourselves and depending on the government.
Yeah.
Okay, so maybe that's the confusion, is because I feel like maybe they're being intertwined now.
Yeah, so it's just called a couple and their dependent children, regarded as a basic social unit. So I don't think the issue is, we don't have enough traditional families. I think the issue is we don't have enough nuclear families where, hey, we are the team.
Oh yeah, I can get down with that.
Right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's because you guys clearly do an amazing job. There are plenty of traditional families that do a fucking horrible job.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But they're not nuclear families. They're not, hey, we are I don't know if that's.
I just don't think there's any reason to push for this whole like traditional. I just don't think we need to force things on people.
Terms, terminology. Yeah, we don't need to force realities on people. There needs to be a basic set of like accepted guidelines, societal norms. And there also needs to be an understanding that, hey, if you live outside those norms, you can believe whatever you want to believe, but it is not the norm. It doesn't have to be the norm. You can believe whatever you want to believe, but we do need societal norms in order for us to function well. And we don't need to force our realities on other people. I think that's where we get in a lot of trouble.
Yep. I absolutely agree with that.
Okay.
Taylor taking ADHD meds. when
Timo, what's up?
Sevon brings out the worst in me. It's mutual.
Oh, someone said that?
We say it to each other. This is just I like having like a really deep conversation like this. And it's more it's challenging because we are still kind of discovering ourselves. I feel like I don't have as much challenge. Well, I have some challenging discussion with Sevon, but he knows what he believes so much that.
Yeah. Has there ever been a stance that you have taken earlier and now you take a different stance? You've asked me that before, and I definitely have completely 180 for the most part, but have you ever?
I feel like.
Oh, hold on. Can you please just answer this question before Kenneth kills us? How was Sevon's house?
It was awesome. He's got an incredible house. his kids are just all over the place. Like they're just like, wild animals running around. They are so well behaved though. And they're so fun to be around because he talks to them like they're not like, he doesn't treat them like adults, but he has normal conversations with them. He doesn't treat them like idiots.
Yeah.
So it's fun to talk to them. The banter's hilarious. It's just great to be around them. It was great to be there. Haley's amazing.
Do they banter at each other?
Who, Haley and Savon?
Savon,
Yeah.
Not as much. Not as much. Yeah. They are, I would, they've been, what I didn't know is they've been together for like 25, 30 years.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
amazing.
Which is crazy. And
That's
so,
amazing.
they have they're just such a good team. It's really cool.
Okay. I just needed to answer that because Kenneth asked like 6 times and we keep going.
Sorry, I know it's so
I
hard.
got you.
Even with 2
awesome.
of us,
They were supposed to, Haley and the kids were supposed to come with us, but Savon decided against it.
I was gonna say she didn't want to be in the house with all y'all.
Probably that, but probably Savon wanted to, didn't want to have to worry about the kids with everything else going on.
Yeah. He very much.
And I was
seems like that
making some,
person.
and I was on the line with jokes that I was allowed to make and not make that I was making in front of them. I said something and Avi goes, "What's that?" And Savon goes,
Oh,
no.
Oh man.
That's just started happening with my kid too, where
Yeah.
I'll say something and then he'll repeat it. I'm like, ooh, can't do that anymore. That's not.
And it's funny because I would think like, oh, it's Savon, everything's
fair
on the
game.
table, but no, and that's cool. It was really cool to see that. He's a great dad, incredible dad. Haley's a great mom too. Yeah, they're awesome.
I just want to hear the banter where she fucks him up sometimes. Like you never get to hear that. But
No.
I want to hear that. Like I want to hear her fuck him up sometimes.
I wouldn't even say it's banter. Like she called him one time when he was like talking about one of the shows we were gonna do, and she just called him. She's like, "That's not a good idea, Savon. I wouldn't do it. I just wouldn't do it." And it's not even like banter, but it's like, damn, you can see the gears turning in his mind, and he's gonna listen to her.
That's so cool. Yeah. What does he smell like, Jake Chapman?
I don't remember any particular smell. Their dog, Kahlo, they have a little bit of a dog smell to the house.
Oh, yeah.
I will say this. I got home and my house just smells like fucking dog ass. It's just straight fucking dog. It's so bad. And I'm like, damn, this is what my house smells like. Because I noticed when I walked in, I was like, it smells like a dog. I like that smell. It wasn't overpowering. When I got to my house after 2 weeks, it was overpowering. So his dog is a lot like our girl dog. She's a protector, dude. So she didn't try to kill me. She's huge though.
How much does it weigh?
She's like 120, 110.
Oh shoot, yeah, it's a big
She's
girl.
like a South African hog, like pig mastiff or some shit like that. But
That's
crazy
amazing.
dog. She's awesome.
All right, let's get a couple more because my kid
He's
is
like, are
starting-
you done yet?
He's like telling us all about because he wants to see that new Transformers 1 movie.
Yeah.
I want to see that shit too.
He's watching a cooking show because I'm a professional couch chef.
Nice.
I watch all the cooking channels, but can't actually cook myself. And so I got him into it too. So we needed to come and tell us that the team lost because it wasn't spicy enough. But
no.
he's drenched in sweat, red face because he's doing all of his sensory stuff. So he just flips on my couch, constantly just flips on the couch. So he's out of breath, can't understand what he's saying. I'm like, I'm almost done. I'm almost done.
Asymmetric ears. I have 4 dogs. I give 0 fucks on what it must smell like to visitors. Me either. I don't care. Like, sorry, my dog lays on my couch. It's he's a house dog. Mark's safe.
There was one question we were talking about before the DeLap one, and I forgot.
Oh, yes. Have you ever had a stance?
And
changed your
changed
stance
it.
on it?
I feel like growing up, my parents were very moderate socially for the most part, like conservative in a lot of ways, not liberal for sure, but not like what my family came from was so right wing, ton of racism all across my family. And my parents, but the big thing for my dad was he hated it and he wanted to get out. So as soon as he went to college 8 hours away north at William and Mary, and then moved to DC. And my mom followed him to Virginia. She went to UVA. But like that he hated that small town, like backwardsness from the South where he grew up, and he wanted to get out of it and he hated it. So I would say if there were ideas or beliefs I I don't think they were ideas or beliefs. I think I grew into really seeing how wrong all of that was. Growing up, like, I never heard anything racist from my parents, but I heard racist things from extended family. And like, I didn't really understand it then. And like, I definitely understand it now. And in terms of worldviews, growing up, I had a lot of resentment against Christianity because I felt like I had it forced down my throat. I still won't necessarily say that I'm not a Bible thumper by any means. And I do really adhere to and believe in like Christian morals. I don't want to go to church. But I don't know. I would say if anything, I changed in the sense where I don't resent it anymore. Like maybe one worldview that I've had a bit of a change on is like the idea behind war and forever wars that like America's involved in. I used to be like when I was a little kid, like 9/11 happened. I was in school. I remember them taking us inside, us having like lockdown for the rest of the day. My dad was at the Pentagon that day. Like there were just like, that's the world we lived in. He worked at Fort Belvoir, the night vision lab, and had a meeting at the Pentagon that day. And so Osama bin Laden was like this boogeyman. And my mom used to tell me that she would have nightmares as a kid about communists because of how much of a scare that was. Right. I had like nightmares of Osama bin Laden marching down our street with like a fucking pitchfork and like murdering people. And so I had this idea that like all like these wars in Afghanistan and Iraq are like, you know, fuck terrorists. Like we need to kill them all. Like they're horrible. And I do still believe that terrorists are horrible. But I now maybe I'm coming to the understanding that there's a lot more nuance to the war in Iraq and all of that stuff and how it's kind of perpetuating itself and not good. How we spent fucking trillions and trillions of dollars in 20 years in Afghanistan. And we go there to kick the Taliban out and we leave and the Taliban's running the show again. It's like that. That is a belief that I have where it's like, man, I respect no one more than like our servicemen who have been in combat. I respect the fuck out of our special forces who for sure keep people safe and keep the world safe. And what I don't understand, like what I am more uncomfortable with now is like how much of that is probably like the big war aspect, how much of that is probably due to the big military complex and us wanting to make money and look at Ukraine. Yeah. So like those things make me really like I have so much respect for the military, but so much disdain for that. It's like it shouldn't be conflicting. You should be able to draw a distinction between the people who want to serve our country and the people who are just trying to profit from it. But
I think that's two different things. I can separate that.
Right. So that maybe is a big one.
It sucks, but
I wouldn't call myself a Republican. I maybe used to call myself a Republican. I definitely don't. I don't vote party. I'm voting for Trump because I'm so tired of the establishment. And it seems like he's anti that. And more than anything, I mean, I was voting Trump before this, but I really wanted to vote for RFK. But with him endorsing Trump and with Tulsi Gabbard and those people who I really like listen to and believe in, I definitely am voting that way.
Dude, RFK was so hard for me because I couldn't get through full interviews with him.
Yeah,
his voice is so hard. I really did, guys. I tried to listen to full like hour-long podcasts with him.
Yeah.
And I just couldn't do it. It was
I got through like 20 minutes of Rogan with him and it was really bothering me. And I don't know what happened, but then it just stopped bothering me, which was weird. But I was where you were at. I was like, man, I can't listen to this. I was like in the car.
I tried like three of them. And and then one of them, he got to brainworms and I was like, yeah, okay. I can't do it. I'm out.
Yeah. I like him.
Inbreeding is a bitch.
That's great. The Kennedys. I don't know. I mean, like to address, I don't know. I feel like the biggest thing is, I don't know. I'm still young enough to where I feel like a lot of my worldviews are still shaping. I feel like most of what I'm really certain on are like personal philosophical outlooks, like self-efficacy, believing in a higher power, like self-efficacy, meaning like the buck stops with me. If I want change, I need to create it for myself. Like no one's going to do it for me. The higher power thing, believing that there's a purpose to life. There's like something greater. I feel like the one I started with is the racism thing. I never believed for 1 second Like I grew up in just such a progressive area in DC. Like all of my friends, I'm fortunate for this because if I had grown up in what my parents grew up with, my extended family the way they were, I for sure probably would have been racist. But like my best friend growing up was from Pakistan. All my other friends were like Vietnamese or El Salvadorian or Somalian or whatever. Like I grew up right outside of DC in Falls Church, Virginia. I'm like fortunate for that. But like there are some people in like my family that are just, it's like crazy to me that they would believe what they believe. Like how could you possibly believe that you're better than someone just based off the way you look? It's crazy. I have one family member. I'll never be in trouble of them like finding me on the internet is how backward they are. But like they're a partially Native American, and like to hear them say something so racist, I'm like, that is so crazy, dude. Like it's just backward. I think what I mean by worldview changing is I'm so aware of how backwards it is now. And at the time, like 10 to 16, 17, I wasn't so aware of how ridiculous and ignorant it is. But that shit still for sure exists.
Oh yeah. I think that when when Republicans speak or conservatives speak, I feel like liberals think we don't know that there is racism. We're very aware that there's racism.
Yeah.
I just am not looking for it when I walk into the grocery store. Like I'm not looking for it everywhere I go.
Right.
I'm just living my life. And if it shows up, it shows up. But I'm not trying to find it. Just like I'm not trying to find homophobia. I'm not trying to find transphobia. I'm not looking for that shit.
And also
with my phone.
And
like,
I'm also not creating
with
it.
my phone.
Yeah. And I'm not creating it either.
Right.
Because that goes back to that, personal accountability. I can only control myself. I can only control the words and the words that come out of my mouth and the actions that I do. So I'm also not part of the problem because I'm not feeding into that. But we have, this was a big part of the board meeting that we had for our son's school when we were deciding that we weren't going to put him into school. We've had a lot of conversations since then, and he is in school. But trying to understand how we're going to end racism by creating more. Like the only way that my son is going to make up for being white is to teach him that being white is a bad thing. So that
that's
he
what
can
you want.
feel.
That's what they want you to do.
So that he can feel what the Native Americans have been through, the, Blacks and Spanish. And like, I'm like, but I'm actually teaching my kid to be kind, to be nice, and to
just everybody,
and to not like somebody because he's an asshole versus the way that he looks.
Right. That's one thing like I never struggled with was the white guilt thing. I feel like when that started to come around, I was like, this is crazy. I'm already the first person to say it's not my fault, even sometimes if it is. So when something happens, it's actually not my fault. I'm like, whoa. But
I didn't do it.
I've had conversations with my sister about it and her feeling that. And it's, yeah. I mean, like it'd be stupid for me to admit that, or to not admit that I have a massive advantage in life. I don't know. I haven't ever asked myself the question, or that's not true, but I guess I don't view it as the color of my skin. Like I view it as how hard my mom and dad worked, because
that has nothing to do with privilege.
But they grew up in, like my dad grew up in an alcoholic home with fucking basically nothing. And
that's not privilege.
Right. And my mom grew up on a farm in rural South Carolina, again, with really not much. And they both made a way for themselves in school. And, that concept is crazy, and how we're taught like people are trying to teach other people, like you should be ashamed of all this. Or like that one reel that was going around, or that article that if you're reading to your children bedtime stories, you're giving them an unfair advantage.
Yeah. What?
I want my kids to have an unfair advantage over everyone, not over a particular group of people, but I want my kids to be as well off as possible,
well-rounded as they can be. Yeah. It was crazy when, remember the videos of white guilt, and the white people were out there shining the shoes of black people and just reciting how bad they were and I'm sorry. And I was like, you have to be kidding me right now.
That's crazy. It's a mental disorder. I mean,
I'm not shining shit unless it's my own shoes. It's like, no.
For anyone. And if you are a person who wants that, that's also something we should be examining. If you want another person to get on their hands and knees and to treat you like that, What does that say about you? I don't want anyone fucking doing shit like that for me. You know what I mean? I have a hard enough time asking my wife for help. But like, I'm not gonna fucking tell Bryson to do my job for me. Like shit like that makes me feel so uncomfortable.
I know. Dick Butter, good point. Who has shoes that require shining? Nobody. Nobody.
Well, last question before we let you go. Do you have any, I know you said not Lizzie, but do you have anybody close to you, friends, family, that have very different views, political views as you? And if you do, are you able to have conversations with them, or is it very much like we just like most normal people that have different views, like you don't talk about it at the kitchen table, like you don't talk about it at dinner?
I'm very vocal about it in most settings. I would say the place where I'm least vocal about it is at the gym. Because I find it's just most people want to go there to get away from that stuff.
Yeah.
And that's why I want to go there, is to get away from that stuff.
For sure.
There are definitely a handful of people there that do not definitely see the world politically in a completely different light. Some of them I've never talked politics before. Others I've gotten into like so many arguments with. I'm like, I don't even want to talk about it anymore. We just have such a fundamental disagreement.
Yeah.
Like it's just crazy. The person I'm closest with that I would say sees things a bit differently is my sister. But I think even her and her husband are being like slowly red pilled. I think the hard thing for them is they still live in Jersey. So everyone around them is very, very progressive, but they're also both incredibly smart. And I think they've seen a lot of the things happening, have been like, whoa, that's not chill. Like during COVID, they were like trying to explain to me why getting the vaccine was protecting other people. Meanwhile, I'm on the phone making my mom cry because I'm telling her I'm never fucking getting it.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So like that's the differences there. But I don't think we don't have an issue talking about it. Maybe sometimes it's they just see me as so sometimes they see me as so like verbal.
We wanted to see your light. We wanted to see your light just hanging in the corner.
my sister might see me as so like verbal and outlandish. She's like, oh, he's just talking about his fucking shit again. I don't care. or she's slowly being like, yeah, all that stuff makes sense. But it definitely doesn't cause issues between us. My mom sometimes is like, I wish he would just shut up sometimes. But she's very conservative. She's an odd one because she is so conservative, but she has Trump derangement syndrome at the same time. She hates him so much.
Yeah.
Which I get.
And she's your mom, and she's going to tell you to shut your fucking mouth.
Sometimes. All the time.
Wait, does she ever text you, like if you're on a show, does she ever text you and be like, shut up, Taylor?
No, she stopped. She did text me and was like, I'm not watching your shows anymore. Too much profanity. She's like, I can't watch Kill Taylor anymore. I'm like,
tell her to watch this one. You didn't curse one time. I did all the cursing the whole time.
I'm going to send her the link to this one.
This one was
right.
Taylor, please keep coming back.
I love these shows.
Great explorations. Clinton Taylor is the best. Thanks, Taylor. Yeah, we appreciate you, dude. This is super fun. Ask all the questions, and it's Kenneth. What? Inappropriate question, because this show has been a little on the serious side. Who is really bigger, Tudor or Colton? Like
in between the legs bigger? Or
I was gonna say, I think we've established Tudor is, but
yeah,
okay.
Tudor is definitely taller. I don't know who has the bigger wiener for sure. I do not know.
All right, guys, cool. Thanks for hanging out.
Okay, so
boy, now we got to dick talk. We were doing so well.
Thing, though? So like
thanks, Kenneth.
Have you met? Is this the first time like you've met Colton in real life?
No.
Okay,
I've met him before.
But like when you meet each other or see each other, like you saw Pool Boy, you see Tudor, like do you guys really just go smack each other on the ass or try to hit each other in the nut? Like, is that like a term of endearment or?
We don't do any of that touchy-feely stuff. I would say most of the male athletes don't. There's still enough like angst and mutual respect to be like, I'm not sure how that's going to play out. The most touchy-feely person I know is Jason. And it kind of bites him in the butt sometimes because he was touchy-feely with Colton. He tried to go up behind Colton and put him in a chokehold.
Oh, that's right.
Tied him in a knot in like a second.
That was a great video.
Wait, who?
Yeah.
Colton
Jason
Hopper.
Oh, Hopper. Okay.
Yeah.
He's touchy-feely from his football days. He's got a little bit of that,
Yeah.
ass grabbing. We don't do that. Me and Colton are very comfortable, but I'm not I don't get super touchy with guys to begin with. I used to when I was younger, but I was very comfortable immediately. The one person I was most uncomfortable with to start was tutor, because I didn't like his old coach a lot, and I knew that he didn't like me. And then over the weekend, we kind of had some banter and became cordial and friends. But like we were at the house, and I was
at the house, you guys must be just like touching.
we were changing. I was changing my laundry over, and I walked in there, and I was like putting clothes in the dirty clothes, and I was wearing dirty clothes. I was like, guys, I'm about to be naked. Just warning you.
Yeah.
And I had a box of C4, and I just put it over my dick and walked through the kitchen, and it was Lizzie, Colton, and like Bryson. That was pretty funny.
All right.
So
good.
funny.
James Townsend. I don't know what that is.
His old coach.
Big
No,
brother,
not James Townsend, a different old coach. I won't say his name. I like James.
All right. Cool. We got to go. My kid is
Huh?
like having panic attack.
Yeah,
Thank you so
dinner.
much, guys,
You guys.
everybody for hanging
Yeah,
out.
this was fun.
This was a great time. I really appreciate it. Thank you for being on live all day and including us in that. So that's
Yeah.
super cool.
This was a great show. Thank you, guys.
All
So
right.
we'll get ready. When's
Well,
the next debate?
Oh yeah.
When's the next debate?
October sometime. Yeah. I'll
Oh, are
text
they
you
doing
after
it?
that. Trump has to set terms, I think, but
Oh,
Kamala said she would do it.
I thought he said he wouldn't do it.
I didn't. Did he come out with a statement already?
I could have sworn. I mean, let me just Google it real quick before we go off, give people the live news. Is Trump doing second debate?
Love you too, Dick Butter.
It says
Bernie said no. Bernie.
right. It says Trump says he won't debate
Trump
Harris
said
a
no?
second time.
Oh, he really needed to do that.
Listen, he got smacked hard.
She should have went home with it and just been happy that she did as good as she did. But
He
Trump
got
needed another one.
Smacked hard.
Yeah.
Well, then he needs to
Um,
have a press conference. Then he needs to get on as many press conferences as he can get on.
Crazy.
Oh, all
So
right, guys.
What's next for you? What are
Yeah.
you doing next?
I have this team comp this weekend, and then Crash Crucible in October 11th, 12th, and 13th.
Yeah, we're totally gonna try to get there. I've been,
Oh, really?
I've been trying to work it out
trying
all
to get
week.
her to go.
That'd be
Taylor.
so sick.
Hopefully by
so sick.
Tuesday, I'll know if I
trying
can
to
go
get her
or
to
not.
go.
But
I'm roping in all of you guys, and I keep doing this to her on every show. I'm
okay,
like,
I got it.
"Oh,
No, I'm
guess
trying.
what? Guess what? So
It'd be amazing. It'd be so cool. It's
It'd
a
be
fun
very cool.
competition.
It'll
I
be-
can't.
it'll be
I want to
cool.
see JR in action. I just want to like watch him organize everything
I
and
want
walk
to
around.
see her meet all of you guys. That's what I want to see.
We'll get it all on film.
Yes. Yes.
All right, guys, we're out.
Bye,
Deuces.
guys.
Love
Bye.
y'all.